Hello and welcome to the Hempville CBD podcast. My name is Ben Cooey, owner and operator of the store Hempville CBD in South Haven, Mississippi, and also the website hempvillecbd.com. And across from me is Derek Michaud, my producer, the man that makes everything work. How are you?
Good morning, Ben. It's good to have you back.
Yeah, it's been a while. I've been away.
You're fixing to explain why you've been away. You've been fighting the government pretty hard.
I have. I have.
But excited to hear all about this.
What we're going to talk about today is, in case you haven't, if listeners out there, in case you didn't know, there's a bill that was going through Mississippi's legislators called it was Bill 1676. It was called the Intoxicating Hemp Bill. And what it was going to do in short is it was going to take all the hemp products and put them under the medical marijuana umbrella. And let me back up a little bit. The bill's purpose was, in premise, the bill's purpose, I agree with. The purpose was to get bad product, dangerous product off the shelf to protect consumers, quit marketing towards children, and to make sure the people buying these products are over the age of 21 or older. That's the premise, and I agree with all those things. The problem with the bill is it basically took my business and gave it to medical marijuana for free. They were just saying, hey, any hemp products are now going to be under the Medical Marijuana Act of Mississippi, so therefore only dispensaries can sell these products. And you would think, hey, that's a simple solution. Of course, that made sense to the politicians. What I learned in my journey doing this is that the politicians really don't understand the industry, and what little they do know is they know all the bad because that's what's been told to them, that's what they've seen, and that's what's been brought to them. They don't know really much of the good. In fact, there are a lot of people out there that think there's no good in this industry. It's all bad. It's all about getting high and crazy.
Well, let me send a note to the audience. I behoove you to go to the previous episode because Ben really breaks it down detailed.
Yeah.
Go check out the previous episode and then come back to this one.
And we're going to kind of highlight some of those things right now.
Because it's a story.
Oh, yeah.
The previous one was, this is what we're up against. Now we're coming in and this is what we accomplished.
Yeah, and this is what we accomplished and where we're going to go from here.
Right.
But of course, people who are making the laws do not know much about the industry. So it was a simple solution to them to say, hey, we'll solve all these problems by just giving this to medical marijuana and put it under that regulation. Problem solved. The problem with that is, and you would think, well, hey, if I want to stay in business, all I just need to do is become a dispensary. Well, there's a problem with that. But more importantly, I would become a dispensary if there wasn't a problem with the Medical Marijuana Act and how they've regulated it in Mississippi. And that's kind of what we're going to get into right here. Like I said, one of the senators said, why don't you just become a dispensary? And I had as I was talking to other CBD store, hemp store owners like myself, a lot of them were playing, well, I'll just become a dispensary and continue to do what I'm doing. Not so fast. That could be the worst mistake you can make. And we're going to get into some of those reasons why. Like anything else, when you paint with a broad brush, it might look good, but the devil is always in the details. And so you got to look at the details. And so the thought process of I'll just become a dispensary and everything's fine, that's a big mistake. And here's why. To become a dispensary, the licensing, like to have a store like mine, total cost based on my area, about $100,000, maybe a little less depending. To become a dispensary, just the licensing is $40,000 a year. After that, and it's not a one-time fee, it's a $40,000 upfront fee, non-refundable, and then I think a $12,000 a year fee after that that's recurring. So the expenses are high. When we get to the cost of just running a dispensary, you got to have a full-time security guard during the number of hours you're open. The build-out cost is completely different.
The security officer must be outrageous as far as an expense. Yeah. You're hiring someone to just stand at your store.
Correct.
That can't be cheap.
and I don't know, depending on the size of your store, you might have one, you might have two. And probably that one person isn't working the full shift, so you're having to rotate some of them out. that's going to get expensive. The taxes and costs that go into it are expensive. The product cost is more expensive. So I just looked at this and said, this really isn't the way to go. I mean, I know some people who have small dispensaries, and even in a small dispensary, I already know that they are in well over $1 million worth of debt to build that thing out. So you're looking at $1 million versus maybe 100,000 or less.
That makes me feel good about my debt.
Yeah.
I mean, it's large for me, but it's not $1 million.
No, it's not $1 million. Now, the main issue is even if I had the money to do that, which I don't. I mean, I might be able to get it done, but it would take everything to get that done. You're not out of the woods. That's not the solution to the problem, because when you start looking at the details, it's the new definition the state of Mississippi is trying to use that would put everybody out of business. And here's where I get that. Right now, the definition for THC, the federal law definition, is in any product, to make it a hemp-based product, you cannot have more than 0.3 of Delta-9 THC in that product. No more than 0.3. That's a hemp product. What Mississippi's doing is they're rewriting that definition into you cannot have more than 0.3% of total THC in any product. That slight of wording from 0.3% of Delta-9 THC to total THC wipes out the whole industry right there. And the reason for that is, one, we know the more effective the product is, it's because they have more cannabinoids in there, because the cannabinoids feed off each other, amplify each other. So by saying total THC, you're watering down the product right there. Also, there are many, many, many different types of THC. Some of them are psychoactive, some of them aren't. When you say total, 0.3% of total THC, that would even make full spectrum CBD illegal under this bill. It would have to be sold in a medical marijuana dispensary. I, as a hemp dealer, could not sell it, even though federal law and science says this will not get you high. The THC in it is called non-detectable THC because it's such a low dose. But even with that low dose, it's less than 0.3% of Delta-9 THC. When you're talking about THCV, which is non-psychoactive, THCA, which is non-psychoactive until it's heated up, and all the other forms of THC that go in, THCA, and all the other forms of THC that goes into a product that's non-psychoactive, to get all those out and still be under that 0.3% level, impossible. That right there would put over 70 retailers, and when I say retailers, I'm talking about just CBD retailers, hemp retailers, out of business.
So there's 70 in Mississippi?
There's 70. There might be a little bit more or a little bit less because some are very small mom and pops, and I couldn't tell if they were open or closed because I couldn't get in touch with anybody. A lot of them didn't have a website or an email address. They just had their Facebook page and limited contact. But I sat down and I went through all of them because I was trying to reach out to all of them. So we're going to conservatively say 70. By putting all those stores out of business, we estimate, because I know each store is different based on their sales, the equity these mom and pop business owners have total up to be around $20 million. By passing this House Bill 1676, it would wipe out $20 million worth of equity of mom and pop business owners. And that's just CBD retail stores. When you want to add vape shops that also sell these products, you're looking at because vape shops outnumber us 5-1, you're now looking at $100 million wiped off the books. Also, once these, like I said, they're taking my business and giving it to medical marijuana. So when you take the hemp industry and move it under the medical marijuana laws, I sell up to 100 milligram gummy or more, depending on what the cannabinoid is, right? But let's just take 100 milligram Delta 8 gummy. If you have been in a car wreck and got a metal rod in your wrist or your ankle or leg or whatever the case may be, your doctor prescribes you opioids for the pain. Either you don't want to take them because they're so highly addictive, or you've taken them and now you're trying to get yourself off of them because you're addicted to them. Mm-hmm. Under the Medical Marijuana Act, the maximum dose I can sell per serving is 10 milligrams of THC in a product. That's not going to do anybody any good. In fact, some of your full spectrum CBD has 5 to 8 milligrams of THC in it, which is called non-detectable. So when you say, hey, under this program, you can only sell a maximum 10 milligram gummy to somebody, what is that going to do for anybody who's suffering from pain or super anxiety or super high pain tolerances that have been given opioids to use for their pain? That's not going to get them off opioids. They're not going to feel a thing. It's not going to help them with their pain. It's just too low a dose. And that is why the medical marijuana industry in Mississippi is failing right now. You know, when we read this bill, my lobbyist, the first thing out of their mouth was, this is just a market share by medical marijuana. You are beating them at their own game with the hemp products because you're not under the same regulation they are. And so they're just, instead of you wiping them out, they're just going to take your business from you and give it to them. And therefore, this is going to help medical marijuana. It is a market share play, but it is not going to help medical marijuana because people are leaving medical marijuana because the milligram dosage is too low and coming to me.
So when the hemp products move to them, then they have to bring the milligrams
down. They have to bring the milligrams down to that 10 milligram threshold. So this really is not going to help them either, which begged me to question. I know Mississippians want a medical marijuana program, but do the people in power, the legislators that represent us, do they want it? And the reason I asked myself that question is really what they're doing is they're getting rid of, they've already regulated medical marijuana down. They developed a program, but they developed a program that cannot sustain itself because they've restricted the dosage level so low it's not going to help anybody. So that's why medical marijuana is failing. And the reason I say that is I walked into some medical marijuana dispensaries during this time and talked to them, and they said, look, there's maybe one or two in the state making money, but the majority of us are losing money because of this dosage problem. So giving them this business is not going to help them. And I'm thinking, are the politicians just killing two birds with one stone? If they've already developed a medical marijuana program that is designed to fail through regulation, giving them my business is not going to help them. What they're doing is they're getting rid of my business and the medical marijuana business all at the same time. It's just that my business is going to go away first, and give it about a year and medical marijuana will be gone too.
They're looking at a big picture.
And there are other problems too. You know, most of us thought when I talked to CBD stores, they thought, hey, I'll just become a dispensary and continue to sell my product. Well, no. When your product changes to a 10 milligram gummy, the major hemp suppliers, the ones we buy from that have doctors and pharmacists on staff that make their products, like Hometown Hero, Koi, 3G, all those people, they make their product based on the federal laws of 0.3% of Delta 9 THC. And the reason they do that is so that they can sell to all 50 states. They can't make money if they're having to cater to each individual state's individual requirements, because if they're making their 25 milligram Koi gummy, Delta 8 gummy that we sell, they would have to make that gummy 50 different ways to, I guess, make each state happy based on each state law. They're not going to do that. They'll lose money and go out of business doing that. So by putting this under the Medical Marijuana Act, we wouldn't even be able to buy the normal hemp products that we're bringing in made by doctors. We wouldn't be able to sell any of those products to our customers. We would be required to buy products from Mississippi farmers, hemp producers. That sounds good, but here's the problem. One, they don't have a lot of experience making these products. That's one of the reasons I have so many customers come in my store and say, the products aren't any good. That's why I'm coming to you. Two, there are not a lot of hemp processors in Mississippi. So if all of our stores turned into dispensaries to sell these hemp products, are they going to be able to make enough and supply these stores with these products?
Mm-hmm.
The answer is no. So we wouldn't be able to buy a product, for one, under this bill. Other things, like I said, it's a market share grab, but it's not going to help the market that's grabbing it, the medical marijuana part. It's not going to help that. We've talked about the majority of these dispensaries in Mississippi are losing money, and why. And if you take my business and regulate it down to that 10 milligram dose, you're still going to lose money because nobody's going to buy that product. The proof is in the pudding right now. When they voted on medical marijuana, I think it was like 680,000 people voted for medical marijuana, which was 74% of the vote. Only 18,000 people have the medical marijuana card, and most of those people are going to let that card run out. That's only 2% of the vote. Mm-hmm. Why, after a year, 2% of the people that wanted medical marijuana who voted for it only have the card? It's because the product is not working. Yeah. And if you give my business to them and regulate it down to the same dose, all that it's going to do is force people to go back to the street. And when I ask myself the question, does the state really want a medical marijuana program? Is there something nefarious at play to where, hey, they figured out a way? Because if you think about it, when we got the medical marijuana program approved, there was then a lawsuit fighting how we got the vote on the voting ballot by the number of names that were the signatures that were gathered. They said, well, you didn't gather the signatures correctly. So we got fought on that end once it was approved. That battle was won. Once that battle was won, then they had to design the program. The people designing the program didn't know much about the industry, so you can just guess the program wasn't designed perfectly, which is understandable. But they drug their feet on it. They drug their feet on designing the program. They drug their feet on issuing out licenses. Now, I don't know what system they have in their offices. I don't know if that dragging their feet was intentional or it was just because everything was new and it's a new department, and so nobody really knows what's going on or how things are done. I get it. But it makes you wonder, are the legislators who, once this was passed, who possibly did not want a medical marijuana program, is this just a way to slow things down and get rid of it? And you regulate it down to a 10 milligram dose. They're all losing money, and then you're going to get rid of my business by giving it to them, which will then cause them to lose even more money. Both businesses will be gone, and politicians will be, the people voted for it, and we gave them a program, but they wouldn't support the program.
Yeah.
And which would be somewhat true, but there's a reason why they didn't support the program. It's because it didn't work because you regulated the dosage down. Mm-hmm. So that's a question I'm asking myself, but I give the politicians the benefit of the doubt in the fact that they don't understand this industry. They're making laws based on an industry they don't know, so the laws are skewed. All they know about is the bad. They have not had time to talk with us to get the good and how we can do this correctly. And so I give them the benefit of the doubt of they do not know what they're doing. And I don't mean that disrespectfully. I just mean you are uneducated. There's an education gap here between you and what this industry really is. Mm-hmm. Give me a chance to close that gap and make you realize what's really going on.
Now this is where it gets exciting.
Yeah, this is what we went through the last month.
That was a good recap.
That was a good recap.
And now we're talking about how persistent you have been, sir.
At the beginning of March, I was driving to work, and I listened on the way to work. I listened to the Paul Gallo show on Super Talk Mississippi, and I heard he was talking about several bills that were coming to the House, and this was one of them. Of course, it caught my ear. I was like, "What? Mm-hmm. They're going to outlaw all this hemp?" And so, after hearing it, now my impression of Gallo is that he's the complete opposite I am regarding the hemp industry. I don't think he supports it at all. I don't know Gallo. I mean, I think he doesn't support it because he just sees the bad side of it. But Gallo, if you ever want to have me on your show, to help to help kind of show you the other side of things, because you're just getting one side of the story. Hey, I do not want a 12-year-old girl to walk into a gas station and buy any of these products.
No one does.
Anybody who's selling these products to anybody under 21 needs to be out of the business. Mm-hmm. I'm with you on a lot of this, but there is a way to regulate it and make it safe, because these products have a huge benefit to people. And me being in the business, I can tell you, people who aren't in the business view it as, well, 95% of your customers are just trying to get high. Mm-hmm. That's not true. I would say about 5 to 8% of my customers might be like that, but 92 to 95% of my customers don't want to get high. That's why they don't have a medical marijuana card. They just want pain relief or relief for whatever reason they brought to my store, but they're in my store because of a problem, not because, hey, I just want to get high. And even if they did want to just get high, most people don't have problem with people going home and getting drunk.
Yeah.
I mean, that's very common. And people say, oh, as long as you get drunk in your own home, you're doing good. I mean, you're responsible. But we all know there's nothing about that alcohol that's medically beneficial. Nothing.
Nope.
But the state of Mississippi seems very comfortable with the working man coming home and to take care of his pain and anxiety needs or sleep needs, drinking a bottle of Jack Daniels and taking some ibuprofen pills. That is absolutely fine.
Yeah.
When both of those products are, well, one, the alcohol is highly addictive, has no medical value whatsoever, and is poison to your body. The ibuprofen, it does have medical value. It does help with pain, but it is toxic to your liver. Your liver has a terrible time processing it, and it will harden the liver over time, depending on how much you take, and that can kill you. The state has no problem with that, but taking a 50 milligram or a 100 milligram THC gummy, or even a 20 milligram THC gummy, they have a huge problem with, and I don't understand that. Mm-hmm. This product will get you buzzed, but it's not, depending on the level, it's not going to get you high. And it's non-addictive. And it's not going to hurt your organs like your liver. Your body's made to take these cannabinoids, where over here it's not, but over here it's acceptable, and this little thing is not.
I think it goes back to market share, right?
I think it goes back to market share, and it goes back to lack of education.
Yeah.
And it also goes back to what's socially acceptable. This hemp industry, THC, CBD industry, is only 5 years old. We've been told our whole lives, oh, this is a terrible product. It's the devil's product. It's terrible. Come to find out that's not true. But to get rid of those layers and layers of lies that have been told our whole life is going to take more than 5 years to do, because it's a total re-education process.
Which I like your process, because you could be just kicking and screaming and wanting to fight. You are fighting.
Yes.
But you're coming in with, I want to meet in the middle. I'm coming to you reasonably.
I'm trying
I want to work with you through education. Let me teach you, rather than just kick and scream and try to raise hell. You're like, let's talk about this and show you what this is really. Yeah, so you're coming in with an educational angle, which I think is great.
My goals are the same as theirs. People say, well, you're just in this business for the money, and that's a complete lie. Yes, I have to make money to keep the business open, but the reason I got into this business is I saw this as a way to make money while helping a ton of people.
Right.
If I wasn't helping people, then I wouldn't want to make money off hurting people. That's just not.
Yeah.
That's just not me, and there's such a liability issue with that. That's such a short-term goal. In the long run, you can't do that. But to start off, I heard this on the Gallo radio show, knew it was going to be a problem, didn't know how to fix it, didn't know where to go. How do I fix this problem? How do I fight back? I wasn't quite sure, but I went to some attorneys and told them what was going on and said, look, can the state legally do this? And they said, yeah, they can. There might be a lawsuit in there somewhere, but that wouldn't be the correct option to go. What you need to do is have some representation on Capitol Hill. So they introduced me to a lobbying group. Me and that lobbying group met and had lunch, and I discussed what the problem was, and then we started just to discuss what would be the best strategy to try to either defeat this bill or get common sense legislation in this bill so we could pass something that's going to work. After that meeting, they set up a meeting for me to go meet some senators in Jackson. I went to the Capitol and we met with, and I don't want to say the senators' names only because we're going to have to work with them next session since we did defeat this bill. We met with, I believe, the person who is over the House of Representatives, and then the senator who's over the Senate. We met with them. Now, when I met with the leader of the House of Representatives, who was the, I think, quote unquote, writer of the bill, by looking at the bill, the Medical Marijuana Association wrote this bill. He's the one, I guess, who brought it up, so he gets the credit for writing it. We had a meeting with him, and he walked out into the hallway. We didn't get to go into his office, but there's a reason for that. He comes out in the hallway, and he very abruptly just said, look, I've discussed this to no end with people. The decision's been made. It is what it is. And we informed him, by passing this bill, you're going to put all the CBD retailers in this state, which is about 70 stores and $20 million worth of wealth, you're going to put them out of business. Well, why is that? How are we putting them out of business? So I explained to him, based on their definition of THC, even full spectrum CBD I couldn't sell. And he goes, well, why can't you just sell CBD? And I said, well, CBD, just CBD only, broad spectrum? You can't make a living off one product. It's not strong enough. Mm-hmm. You need all these other things too. And I said, plus full spectrum CBD is non-intoxicating. The federal law says it's not intoxicating. The science behind that law says it's non-intoxicating because it's only 5 to 8 milligrams based on the dosage. And he just said he didn't believe that, and that it is what it is, and that they didn't mean to put us all out of business, but it is what it is. And then
it is what it is, coming from a politician in the hallway.
And he turned around and walked off, and that was it. And my lobbyists were in shock. And I turned to him and said, he just gave us the big screw you, didn't he? Yep. And they kind of said, yeah. They said something's going on, and they looked in his office and they could see the medical marijuana lobbyist in his office. That's why he was meeting us in the hallway. And they said, well, let's go talk to the head of the Senate and see where we can get with that. So we met with him, and the only thing he said was, he goes, look, do you have language for me? Do you have any language of how you would regulate this? If you give me the language, I'll look at it. And I thought, oh, well, this is a good sign.
He opened up the door a little bit.
It sounded like he was opening up the door.
Yeah.
I don't know how sincere he was in that statement, and here's why. Okay. We went into a room. We started pulling out legal books with code and stuff, and my lobbying group went to work, and we started writing an amendment to the bill. We realized, okay, if the bill's goals are to protect the public, we can do that. We wrote in there, and I'm just paraphrasing, buying hemp products that are made by professionals like doctors and pharmacists. And we wrote out a list of brands that do that because it can be done. We said, okay, to quit marketing towards kids, no products can have like the Oreo label or the Skittles packaging or something that resembles candy. Get rid of all of that stuff. Your product should be, the packaging should be relatively generic. It shouldn't look like a kid's product. And then for making sure people 21 and older are the ones buying these products, easy. Have a POS system like they have at the grocery stores, where when you go buy beer, you have to scan the ID. Otherwise, the purchase will not go through. If each store has that, then everybody purchasing a product is going to have to be 21 or older, and it's going to be recorded in the computer so you can point out to every sale what ID you scanned that approved the sale, proving this was a 21 and old.
Being reasonable.
And I said, your problems that you're discussing, bad product on the shelf that's hurting people, the sale of under 21, marketing towards kids, most of that's coming from your vape shops and your gas stations. In fact, I talked to a retired policeman that owns a hemp store. And I don't know how true this is, but he told me he pulled the number of problems that they had dealing with underage and bad product. And he said there was like a little over 700 complaints in 2023. He said like 98% of them came from vape shops and gas stations. So that tells you where the problem is. And the reason why, as we discussed, Those people sell 100 other products that have nothing to do with hemp. They don't use hemp products the way we use hemp products. It's just another product for them to sell, and they're not educated on the products as well. So they don't even know if they got a bad product on their shelf because they don't know what to look for. When you had that combination of somebody selling a product they're not educated on and they're not using, you're going to have problems. And that's where that problem lies, because the hemp retailers, they know what they know the products they're selling, how they worked, and what's dangerous and what's not. We wrote these amendments, gave them back to the senator. From what I can tell, from what my group tells me, they weren't even considered. None of it was considered. They rewrote the bill. None of these things were in there. It's like we just wrote that amendment for no reason at all, because they just rewrote the bill the same way it was written the first time. So they didn't even consider anything we did. So I left Jackson and I called my wife and I told her, they're going to wipe us out. They're going to get rid of this industry with no problem and wipe it off the board. And then as I kept driving, I started thinking, all we need is 4 votes. We need to flip 4 votes to block this bill. Now, clearly, these 2 people, the leader of the House and the leader of the Senate, they've already got their minds made up. But there are a bunch of other politicians out there who might not know what's going on, and that's who we need to reach out to. And politicians, they need votes. And you can't tell me that given the demand for these products, if you vote against these, that you're not going to make a lot of people in your district probably angry that you voted against it.
Yeah.
And we didn't want to threaten senators. We want to educate them. So what we did was we started reaching out to other senators who have to vote on this but are not on maybe the committee and discussing it, or who don't know much. And I should have done this in the beginning of the podcast. I want to say thank you to everyone who participated in this, because it's not hey, one person got this bill killed. No, politicians are not going to listen to one person. They're going to listen. In order to catch their ear, you got to have a lot of people screaming at them, and then you catch their ear. So we had Hempville and me might have raised the red flag, but to get this bill killed was a team effort, and it was a team effort of me and the other hemp CBD retailers in this state. I would call them and email them each week. They would call in and email into the senator's office and saying their opinions on why to vote no. They got their customers to do the same thing. We got our customers to do the same thing. And as the bill became more public, other lobbying groups got into the fray, and then they started pushing back. That is what got this bill killed, was a team effort from everybody. It wasn't one person. It took one person to raise the red flag, but it took the whole village to get it all killed. Now, after I left Jackson, realized they need votes, we started reaching out to these people. We had a petition going around that we did through the internet, through phones, that had people say, sign this petition telling your district representatives to say no to this bill so we can get common sense regulation. All we want to do is have you talk with us and come write some regulation that's not going to just help us, but keep us in business. But we want the regulation to be good for Mississippi, good for the state, good for the people of this state. What happened was, all of a sudden, as we started reaching out and closing that education gap with the other senators, the vote kept being delayed. It kept being delayed. And I thought, maybe they're starting to think. And then they started to request information from me. They wanted pictures of my store. They wanted pictures of the labeling of the products in my store, the packaging of those products. And I sent all that and explained to them, because I knew they were going to be looking at something they knew nothing about. Explained to them about how all of these products are all made by professionals, doctors or pharmacists. You see the packaging is not marketing towards kids. You see they have on the packaging, you must be 21 or older to buy it. You see on some of the packaging a 1-800 number. If you have any problems, need to reach out to the company, you can reach out if you have questions, and they're going to respond back. They have a nutrition guideline of the nutritional facts of the product. They have an ingredient list of the product. They have their hemp certification of the product. Everything that you would want on these labels is on there. It's not like going into the vape shop, because this is what the politicians have seen and heard. I picked up a package. It said THC gummies on them. No ingredient list, no nutritional label, no milligram dose. Have no idea where it came from, who made it, nothing. I also emailed them the certificates of analysis of these products so that they could see these are and on these certificates, it not only tells you what's in that product and what was tested, it also gives you all the information on the lab, where this lab is located, what's its certification, because there are certifications for these labs. All of them had the highest certification you could get because it's a industry standard. And when I sent this information, I looked at my wife. I said, we have a chance. And she goes, what do you mean? I said, if they're asking for this information, clearly we've gotten some senators to say, hey, if this guy from Hempville says he thinks this can be regulated cleanly and done right, let's see what he's actually doing in the store. Let's see if he's blowing smoke or if he's telling the truth. And
walking the walk.
Hopefully when they saw the pictures of the stores and the product and the labeling and the packaging, they were like, hey, maybe he's got something here. So the vote, after we sent that, the vote kept coming up, but it kept getting delayed more and more. And I said, we got 2 days left. Either they're not going to vote on it, or we got them thinking. We got them on the ropes. Between Monday and Tuesday, which were the last 2 days of the session, this bill was brought up and killed, brought up and killed, brought up and killed 8 different times. And what I mean by that is we think we got it beat. And I was getting texts coming in to me saying, hey, the bill's dead. We won. Blah, blah. I'm like, no. The bill might be, they might not be voting on it, but it's not dead. It is not dead until they close out this session and everybody goes home, because they can always bring it back up. Yeah. All they have to do to bring it back up is change wording in the bill, and then it has to go through the process again. You know, so if they kill it, somebody can say, well, I want to change this to it. Here, I've changed it. What do you think about this? So they bring it back to life, and then they got to kill it again. And then somebody would make another change. They bring it back to life. It happened 8 times during that 2-day frame. And finally, I think late Tuesday night, my lobbyist group texted me and said, the bill is finally dead. Showed me where the session has adjourned and everybody has gone home. It was brought back up again at the last second, but it was killed. A senator wouldn't sign off on it. And so then they had to sign off and go home, and it's over until next year. My lobbyist said, look, I bought you a year. Yeah. But this is going to come up next year, and now the real work begins. This is where we're going. I've kind of already told you how we beat the bill, what the bill was consisting of, and the bad it was going to do. We finally beat it, but now the real work begins, because this is going to happen next year. Medical marijuana lobbyists are up there every day. So, but this situation, 2024, this bill was a wake-up call to our industry, because our industry in the state, there really is no franchisees. There are some franchise stores in the state, like your CBD store, but there's no really major, huge franchise like a McDonald's or a Wendy's. These are all mom and pop stores. So we're not organized, and we're in an industry that's only 5 years old, and there's such a huge education curve that we're just now, after 5 years, the general public is now realizing these products are safe and they work and they're good. And so, it's now becoming a little bit more socially acceptable than it was 5 years ago. Mm-hmm. But the marijuana industry has been organized, I think, since 2012, so they got a good 12-year jump on us. We've been open for 5 years. But this has been a wake-up call to where now all of us mom and pops realize what we're up against. Is over the summer, my goal, I hadn't had a podcast in a while, and this is probably going to be my last one, at least for a little bit of time. I do plan to continue the podcast, but not over the summer. And the reason why is over the summer, me and the lobbying group are going to take the time to get all the stores in the state organized, figure out a way to get organized, and fund the lobbying group so that next year when this bill comes up, we are ready and we have representation up at the Capitol every single day. And it's going to take a good bit of that time to close that education gap between the lawmakers and what the truth is.
Yeah.
And I think we can get that done. I know when I was up there, I had senators say that they had the power to ban anything the FDA did not regulate, so therefore they should ban this. And my question was, I wanted to ask, but I couldn't. Well, are you going to ban everything in GNC nutrition or all the vitamins at the grocery store? Because we are considered a supplement. And you're asking the FDA to do something they don't do, and you're going to ban it because the FDA is not jumping out of their lane and doing something you want them to do that they're not obligated to do. So the thought process of we got the power to do what we want if the FDA doesn't regulate it, well, you would have to ban also all vitamins that go along with that, and they're not willing to do that. But that just shows you the lack of education between these products and what they are and what they do.
This has been an amazing civics lesson for me. Right? I don't dive into politics of the politicking, but there's also a civics level to all this and how bills work and how lobbyists works. And
gosh.
And it's fascinating to hear how this all works, but they didn't want to listen to you, but then they did. Certain people did. And it didn't pass. So it seems like, we pick on politicians and government and everything, but it worked. The fight worked.
The fight worked.
They listened enough to say, well, it's not going to happen this year.
And you're going to have, it's like with anything else. You're going to have people that already have their mind made up.
Yeah.
And you're going to have
like the guy in the hallway.
Yeah, like the guy in the hallway. And you're going to have people that fully support it, but you're always going to have a bunch of people in the middle that are like, well, I don't know enough about it to really say yes or no, but I do know 74% of the people in Mississippi want it. And so we need to give that to them in some form or fashion. And we need to give them something that works, not something that just we're doing it to do it, but it doesn't work. And so I always had in mind, there are enough politicians out there that represent us that if we can give them the education, we can maybe do something good for Mississippi. Instead of looking at this is an evil thing, we got to get rid of it. There's some problems in this industry that we need to clean up. Yeah. And I learned that, hey, if I'm waiting for government to clean it up, that's not going to happen because they don't understand what's going on. We, the industry itself, we're going to have to clean up our own industry, and we're going to do that through representation through lobbyists. But we have to do that, and we have to fund that to get this done and save this industry. But for the lawmakers, I'm trying to make them see, look, we have a huge opportunity in front of us as a state. Mm-hmm. Hemp could be the new cotton. And cotton was king in the state for a very long time, made the state a lot of money. Hemp on the industrial side can make a ton of things, but we are embarking on a alternative to pharmaceuticals that we have not had in many, many decades. And this is a healthier alternative. It can go badly if it's not regulated. And if people are putting out dangerous product and letting people underage buy it, yes, it could go bad. Anything could go badly under those conditions. Yeah. But overall, there's more good in this industry with the intoxicating hemp products versus bad. And if we just put some simple common sense regulation on it, not only could we clean this up and make it safe for the public, we can give the public an alternative to pharmaceuticals, which is a healthier alternative. And we can do a lot of good for Mississippi. We're going to keep the people safe. We're going to achieve all of our goals, but we could bring in a ton of revenue for the state and it's not about money, but we could bring in a ton of revenue for the state while making people healthier and safer. We could clean up the black market a little bit, and we could clean up the opioid addiction and the prescription addiction problems that we have in this state, all through these cannabinoids. And that is what we're going to try to make them see over the summer. And that's why I'm not ending the podcast, but I'm putting it on pause to go get that organized so we can get that set up for next year. Because I think if we can convince them of that and make them see that, it would do wonders for this state. more and more people are catching on to the fact that, hey, prescription medication is not the way to go. And alcohol sales are dropping year after year after year because people have realized, hey, these sugary drinks and these the sugary alcoholic products, they're killing me. Mm-hmm. And you don't see that when you're young and in college, but you know as well as I do, as you get older and you get into your 40s and 50s, you realize this is killing me.
I witnessed 2 uncles pass away because of alcohol. I get it.
Yeah, and I used to love a good drink at the end of the day, and now I sit back and I think, after I've discovered these products and studied them, what the hell was I doing? I mean, like, I could feel myself kind of teetering towards, I could get addicted because now I'm having a drink every night, even though it's one drink, it's still a drink, and I could feel my weight gain, I could feel my sluggishness, that everything was negative to it except for the buzz feeling. And here you can get the same pain relief, but it's such a healthier product and low risk. And even we talked about in one of the podcasts that the federal government might switch the reclassification of this drug from a Schedule 1 to a Schedule 3 and how great that would be. Not so fast on that one either, but we'll get into that later. But my point being is if they change it to a Schedule 3, it is validating everything that we've talked about, meaning these do have medical value, because to be a Schedule 3 drug, you have to have medical value and you have to have a low addiction rate or abuse rate, which these cannabinoids have. Mm-hmm. The problem is with this scheduling, they're not doing enough for it. They're scheduling this only because if they move it to a Schedule 3, that opens the door for pharmaceuticals to start using these cannabinoids more and more into their product. But it's only pharmaceuticals they're opening that door up to. The rest of the doors that are closed to us, I think, are still going to be closed. So really, I don't know how good it is to be switched to the Schedule 3 other than it's validating everything I've been preaching. But why would the pharmaceuticals want to get into it? Because they know this is kicking their butt in the industry on the over-the-counter drugs and the painkillers and the sleep aids. And so they want to get involved in it. It's a question of how hard are they going to fight to cut us out of the loop, because that's coming. I know it's coming.
They might just finally give up. You never know.
They might, but I know there's a big push to have medical insurance pay for some of these products as well.
Yeah.
I don't know how that is going to work, but I know the first step of getting that to work is moving it to a Section 3. And of course, pharmaceuticals would love that, because when they start making products, those are going to be the products that prescriptions will pay for.
Yeah.
They're not, I guarantee you the healthcare insurance is not going to be paying for my products. The difference is, how are those products going to be different? Because I know they're going to be different. And I'm willing to bet the pharmaceutical products are going to have things that are still bad in there for you, because they're not going to be 100% pure, or, they're not going to be as strong.
Yeah.
But, we'll have to cross that bridge and see. That's just an estimation. But for now, in conclusion.
Well, before you wrap up,
I
just want to say that thank you for everything you're doing here.
Oh, well, thanks.
Because I am a proponent for this stuff too. And I think you're fighting a good fight for a lot of people, like you said. And as your producer, it's been a pleasure. You're going to be taking a break. I'm not going to see you as much. I can't wait for you to come back.
Oh, I can't either.
And I can't wait to hear all the good news and all the hard work that you guys are going to be putting into this. And I hope the audience sticks around. I think they should, because this is a big thing. This is a big year for your industry.
Right. It is. We're still taking baby steps of just, first it was to get the industry out there. And I look at this, I analyze this through just the steps of time and how long it takes. First, it was, hey, get the products out there, get them available to the public. Okay, we've done that in the first 5 years, and the products have evolved to become better products during that time. Now is the time of, there's no regulation in this industry, and before this industry can really grow and be good for people, we need the regulation. We need to start working with legislators in every state, because every state's going to come up with rules, but most of those legislators are like me. I wasn't sitting around in high school and college smoking weed. I knew nothing about weed before I got into this business. It just wasn't a part of my lifestyle. But as I got older and as I get closer to prescriptions, I started looking at other options. And as I seen parents and friends, parents of my friends be on 15 medications and dying off, and the medications being a huge part of that problem, I was like, there's got to be something. I got to have another alternative. I mean, this can't be the only option for me. That's what got me into this business. And that's why I think we're on the verge of something huge. But before it can be huge, we need the regulation to make it safe. We know it works. That's been the first 5 years. We've had product development. Okay, we're there. Now we need the regulation. Once we can educate the lawmakers and we kind of all get on the same page of making this safe for the public, then I think we can really do a lot of good. But it's just, it happens in steps.
Yep.
And right now we're at the step of educating the lawmakers.
I know you well enough to know that you are not going to give up on this. You're going to fight this to the bitter end.
I will fight it until they're tired of listening to me. And even then, I'm going to do whatever it takes to get them to listen to me. Yeah. And that's why I say we're going to find out if Mississippi really wants a medical marijuana program, because either you're going to step up to the table and make this right, because our intentions are good. Our intentions are not, hey, we just want to be open so we can sell product. We don't care what it's doing to people. No. Every store owner that I talked with, we all had the same goals. We got into this to help a lot of people. We got into it to help ourselves. Money is the byproduct of this. We didn't get into it thinking, oh, I'm going to make $1 million and just be super rich. It doesn't work that way. But we got into it going, I want the alternative, and maybe if I have a business and that offers the alternative, we'll learn more, because I see this being this industry having a lot of potential, because I know the need and want is out there. But yeah, that's what we're going to do.
Awesome.
And I would love to do updates.
Yeah.
Just simply because I could find something out in July, August that's important. And might not start coming back regularly until I get this fixed. But I'd like to give you updates along the way so y'all know what's going on, kind of see the direction we're going. And this way, as you stay educated, if we do run into hiccups next year, people are going to be on board and ready to go. I'm not going to have to organize them. I can just say, hey, this is what they're doing. This is how we can fight it. And then, you can click that button and put them all to work to fight it. This time around, it was a lot harder. We were shorter on time, and we were trying to just pull everybody in.
It was a scramble
to help us. It was a scramble, but yeah, I'd love to come back and give updates so people can stay in the loop. Please, continue to subscribe and like the Hempville podcast, and always remember, we got the web. If you can't come to the store, we got the website. If you need help or have questions about product, go to hempvillecbd.com, or you can call our store. Place an order. We got the 20% off coupon, HVP, for Hempville podcast, number 20, for 20% off anything on our web store. Use it and stay up. We'll keep you up to date. You just keep listening. But thank you so much. If you found this podcast helpful, I'd appreciate it if you took a minute to subscribe, rate, review, and follow us at hempvillecbd.com. This increases the reach to more people who are trying to navigate through the changing cannabis market and its products, so that we can create a more knowledgeable consumer. Take a screenshot and tag me in your social stories to friends. It means the world to me to know that this podcast has positively helped you and that we get to be a part of your journey. Thank you, and until next time, here's to a better life.